Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to $3 Theater. It has been a hell of a ride getting Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead to not only the big screen, but now the small screen, where today it premiered on Netflix, and apparently people are loving it. Now, I saw it last week, and I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to wait for my friends to see it too. And so today I'm joined by Enosh and Mad Max the Mandalorian, and we're going to be talking about Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, because I know Enosh is not the biggest zombie fan. I'm a huge zombie fan. I don't know where you stand on zombies.
I like zombies. I'm not as big into horror zombies. I watch The Walking Dead. I don't watch every single zombie thing, but yeah, this was exciting for me.
This was different. This was different. And when I first heard about Army of the Dead, it was actually 2009 when they announced it. And I thought this is like a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. It's going to be in that same world. And I'm actually really happy that it's not, because it opens up this broader experience. And that, again, as Enosh and I were talking about this, because we both saw it in theaters last week, we were like, wait a minute, hold on. And we will get to that. We will get to that shot. But at the same time, I just watched the opening credits again before going live. And in the theaters,
could be full spoilers, right?
Full spoilers, yeah. Full spoilers at this point in time. Yeah, this is not a.
There's zombies in it.
I know, and there's zombie titties in it in the very.
There are.
Did you see the Netflix posted the first few minutes of it, and they blurred out the boobs.
This is like Zach doing I'm just doing whatever.
Well, you know what? No, but the thing with that is that's also in part Deborah too, because Zach, I think it was in Dawn of the Dead, there was a shot with the woman who was nude. And they were trying to talk him into getting rid of that shot. And Deborah came in and she's like, no, that woman's sexy. Put it on the screen. So when you got a producer that's
that's good woman.
That's I support your desire for this kind of which it really does put Sucker Punch in a greater context. But anyway, so this movie is it's a mixture. It's a mixed bag of different themes, so to speak. And it works really well, in my opinion. So if you guys have seen it, which I would assume that's why you're here, you know the general plot. But otherwise, zombie outbreak in Las Vegas. It's going to get nuked by the government. Heist goes in, or a group of people goes in, an extraction team to do a $200 million heist out of the basement of a casino. Everything that could go wrong does go wrong. But it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. And I'm happy to say I'm happy. I think you could tell Zach was kind of happier with this, not to say that with his other movies he wasn't, but I feel this is kind of it's more special,
Well, it seems like they gave him the ability to actually make the film that he wanted to make and support
without having to go behind their back.
Right.
Without having to go behind their back and shoot a 4-hour cut.
I love how even today Netflix was even kind of teasing out there and said, just what was it, just in case anyone's wondering,
this is
the Snyder cut, so
I saw that, yeah. I thought that was pretty funny, how they definitely, the Netflix has been supportive, and I think Netflix has been supportive because, for one, they're kind of like the anti-studio, even though they are effectively at this point their own studio.
Yeah.
But they support their filmmakers. They support the people who they bring on in. They put up the $90 million to make this movie, which is not as much as some of the other movies that they have been financing. I mean, one of their very first big ones was Bright in 2016 or 2017, I believe. And that was a $90 million movie as well.
I like Bright. I hope it gets a sequel. So.
Well, we've been waiting for, there's a whole thing with that too. But so this one, I was really curious to see how Zach was going to pull it off by being not only the writer, the producer, the director, and the cinematographer. And that was probably one of the things
he had to make some extra money on the side because he didn't get paid for Justice League.
Well, he didn't. Yeah. He was already paid one time. But
I know, but that was years ago, though. That's old money. That's old money. You still got I got paid for a job that I worked 5 years ago too, but I still got to put food on the table today.
Sure. But I'm not too worried about a millionaire filmmaker. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying it's all relative. It's all relative.
Yeah. But no, and I'm glad that he, because the thing is he wanted this one to be more intimate. This was meant to be a palate cleanser for him, because after the thing with Autumn and in the last couple of years, he has said that he just really wanted to dive into the nitty gritty of it and do something that was more that was him. And that's why, like, even in the making of the movie, which I do talk about in the Podio commentary episode that is now available also on the channel, you guys can check that out if you want. You know, he kept it a very tight-knit set. You know, it was there's no chairs on set. It was be there on an as-needed basis. And he was in the shit, if you will, with the cast, and making it a very interesting, you know, experience. And that's one of the things I liked about it, was that you felt that it was more intimate. You felt that it was kind of like boots on the ground. Like, I don't want to equate like Saving Private Ryan, but in some of those action scenes, like where he gets in real close, and some of those shots are just really well done, and, you know, and a very visual filmmaker put those together. So what did you guys think of the acting of the movie? That's because that's getting a lot of talks. Dave Bautista specifically.
Look, I'll just say this, man. You know, Dave, I got a chance to interview him before the movie came out and talk to him a little bit about it, you know, and he shared some things with me. And, you know, I was watching this film, and when you know, he talked about the ending of the film, you know, when I talked to him, and he just mentioned the fact, you know, like, man, this ending, I keep watching this ending over and over again. And I don't know, until I talk with him again, like what part of the ending, like if it was his part, if it was, you know, the very close of the film, you know, where it kind of sets up, you know, like, hey, this isn't over yet, you know, whatever. But I will say this, at the end of this movie, where he is just filled with emotion, and he's talking with his daughter, and he's, you know, he's realizing that he's going to turn at any moment. I just turned to Tiffany and I went, holy crap, man. He has really impressed me as an actor, because you don't see these other, you know, like The Rock, he's a big superstar, right? I mean, he's box office gold for, you know, for anybody, but he doesn't really, I've never had my heartstrings tugged at by The Rock, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, with John Cena, you know, I see him, you know, he's a wrestler turned actor, and, you know, he hasn't been in as much, but I just do. Yeah. I don't see him as, like, you know, a serious thing. Now, he could one day completely change it, but I just haven't seen that yet. I mean, I still don't see him.
There's I get it. There's a difference. So like, The Rock is an entertainer, right? And Cena is a goofball, and that works. And like Peacemaker, I think, is going to be very goofballish, and it's going to work out. But Bautista, even Gunn has said that Bautista takes his craft seriously.
You can tell.
I mean, like, look at the opening 7 minutes of Blade Runner 2049. That kind of set the bar. And even like Bautista had been trying and struggling, and he's kind of been open about that, where there's been all of these, like, he said in an interview that he was like kind of starving for a few years. I mean, it's metaphorically, obviously, but he's like trying to get parts, and they're just kind of like typecasting him or things like that. But then he got Drax, and that kind of opened it up a little bit more. And then he got this movie. What's really funny is he did agree to a cameo in Suicide Squad, and he quit Suicide Squad when he got the script for this. And so he called up James, and he's like, yeah, like, I love you, brother, but this is better for my career. And James, being the friend that he is, was like, man, all right, completely supportive. And that's where I'm really I'm happy that these guys are all kind of friends with one another, and they support each other like that. Because I do feel like Bautista, he brought it quite a bit. And I think, like, even when you get to the ending, and I mean, the ending was like somewhat predictable on that front, and we'll get to that, because I kind of feel like one character in particular just got like effed the entire movie.
Well, it's a great movie, but Bautista, like, he delivered a performance that's even beyond this type of film. Really, nothing against Zack, but the way he put emotion into his final scenes. I guess we're spoilers now, but
we've been in spoilers all the time. It's with the thing with his daughter, and that was
he really. I really did not see that coming. Like, I thought he's gonna do good acting, but that says he can do anything, really. Well, not anything.
He's legit.
Yeah,
he's got a lot more range and a lot more opportunities for acting in the future.
Yeah, I heard he was really good in Stuber as well. I haven't seen Stuber yet, but I heard he was really good in it. I haven't seen
Stuber either, but you know, that's the thing. Is like, I haven't, you know, I've never been quick to you know, go watch, you know, some wrestler in a movie. As much as I'm a wrestling fan, I've never been so quick to, you know, watch a wrestler in a movie. I mean, even Hulk Hogan back in the day, basically you got kind of one trick, right? You know, kind of like one thing.
But Suburban Commando.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. Was it Hollywood Nanny, or what was that? What was that one?
Was it Mr. Nanny? No, was it Mr. Nanny? It was something. Yeah,
it was something Nanny or another.
I mean, like, The Rock had the Tooth Fairy, very similar in the concept.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just watching him in this, I was very pleasantly surprised of how good of a job Bautista did. And that he really brought it, and that you really felt like he was an actor. I didn't feel like he was just, and he even talked about that a little bit, just like he didn't want to just be a meathead, just taking these roles, just take these roles. He wanted to become an actor. Mm-hmm. And I think he really shined as that.
Well, I do agree with you on that one. I think one of the things that's fascinating though is like looking at the rest of the cast, because this is an ensemble, even though he's the lead, it is an ensemble. And I felt like, a lot of these are kind of unknown or unnamed actors, really, that you don't know from a lot of different things. I'm totally going to butcher the name here. Ana de la Guerra. I don't know. I'm terrible with pronunciation. I thought she was really good. And she's again come off of kind of some smaller roles like on Eastbound and Down on HBO. I mean, like Ella Purnell, who plays his daughter, she's, more known for being overseas and doing stuff in England. And so it's like kind of, the only person in the cast that I really knew was Theo Rossi, and that's because I'm a Sons of Anarchy fan. And I will say I kind of feel like they did lead Theo Rossi's character a bit dirty. Like, I know he was set up to be like the sacrifice, and that was the whole thing. He was like the scummy kind of perverted rapey guard. But I kind of feel like there might have been more there for like someone like him. I think like his name, but maybe that then again.
Well, he's very stereotypical character, but it's like it's always fun in these type of movies. Oh, he's going first. Whoever's most over the top.
Well, it's that satisfaction.
Like, he's gonna die.
Yeah, but it's like, but how they did it was really good too, because that's where they kind of toss it on its ear. And before we get into the plot of it, really, like, I just want to say, like, I really liked Tig Notaro. I was a little apprehensive at first because I like Chris D'Elia, and then when that whole thing blew up, I was like, because I didn't know the severity of the accusations at first, and they're pretty bad. But I thought she did a really good job, and the CG that they were able to pull off for inserting her into the movie was relatively flawless in many scenes. Like when they're all together in the casino, and like Dieter is like holding the gun and she taps his elbow, like, and like it looks real, but he wasn't actually there with her. So like Zack was able to really make that work, and that does speak a lot to the to the volume of his visual ability. And then also, I'm a big fan of Garret Dillahunt, who was Martin, the security bodyguard guy for that was sent in with them, and I liked him quite a bit. And I want to know more about the zombies, right? Like, because what was up with that? Like, are they aliens? I think they're aliens. I think sure.
Well, yeah, and I think that was my first thought when I first heard about the Area 51 connection. It's like, okay, and then like I was a little concerned, honestly, at first when the soldiers are talking and they're the guy's driving and he's like, what, you gonna make me spell it out for you? You gonna make me spell it out for you? Really? I'm gonna have to like tell you, like, kind of delaying that whole thing of it being aliens, but I kind of felt like that's kind of, I don't know, it was kind of telling us in a way as the audience, it was more for us, it's like, hey, this isn't your typical zombie movie.
Yeah.
This isn't just like some weird virus outbreak. It's not just some, random thing. It's not, some supernatural, the dead coming back to life. It has to do with aliens and possibly an alien virus, or maybe it's, the way these aliens, infest.
Well, there was that reference too to the Ark of the Covenant, So I believe there was a reference to the Ark of the Covenant at the beginning. I believe I caught that. I could be wrong.
I loved this movie. It was a lot of fun, more so than other straight to streaming movies. It really felt like a summer blockbuster, like big action, fun characters, over the top. But if there was one downside, and I have to give a downside, maybe it was my expectations. I was expecting more out of the zombies, because we know these aren't your typical zombies. So I was expecting something a little bit more, and maybe because also I know I'm such a fan of Zack Snyder. I know he could go really very artistic strokes and do some really interesting things. I think there was some of that, but I was just maybe expecting more.
Well, and that's what there's going to be with like the expanded universe. This was in my opinion like a taste. This wasn't the full meat of everything because I mean, like for one, it's been, you know, like the fact that it was localized to Las Vegas was really fascinating. And I like how they tied in like the Coyote going in there and like taking people to like different casinos and them getting the money and then getting out as a way to like buy their way to a better life someplace else was really interesting. And then, you know, the fact that they were going to nuke just Vegas itself with a low yield bomb to take them out. And all those little things that were going on kind of around the world was really interesting to see, like, you know, just where it all went. But the thing with the Area 51 thing, though, is like, it's kind of like, it's like The Mist. Remember the movie The Mist, where all we really hear is just that there is a military base nearby and that there was like some kind of explosion or something. It was like very... just a little, like something happened there, and then here comes this mist, and here come everything with it, you know? So we get like no explanation in The Mist for how those creatures came here and all that stuff. So this is kind of very similar, but I like that it doesn't like start off in the beginning, because we get that excellent opening credit sequence where the extraction team is, you know, like getting everybody out. And of course, like all the drama that comes with that, like the lady and her kid, I'm assuming. You know, like that's a really dark way to open the movie, because the movie, like think about it, like it starts off with the married couple, you know, and then everyone dies, and then it ends right there with like the woman and her daughter being crushed by a crate.
So before that, so like speaking of the Area 51 thing, so yeah, I mean you got the crash and everything, but like when that hatch opens and the guy comes out of it, you know, Zeus comes out of it, you know, I mean he's got short hair, he's got a buzz cut. I feel like he was maybe military, maybe he was an astronaut. Maybe
oh no, he was military because he had the dog tags.
Exactly.
So,
So you know, so he's military. He comes out and he obviously got infected somehow, but he was this main whatever he is, you know what I mean, that could bring about
the alpha.
You know,
he was the alpha.
Yeah, these alpha, you know, these other forms of the zombies, you know, that are smarter, that are faster, that are those things. And then you skip what I felt was that whole opening montage where the music is playing and I mean, it's a great song. And you see these moments like the fact the lady in that who dies with her daughter, I feel that there's like another story there. Like I feel like you could tell this whole story because you have Bautista and others. Like it was almost like there was a team already in there. They were doing their thing.
Well, and that's the thing. They didn't expand upon that. Like because they were called the Lost Vengeance. Is what they were called. And that's like and that's an extraction team. And this is what they've been doing for a while, is getting everybody out and like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And there's no explanation for any of that, which I found to be kind of interesting. But that's what's going to be the animated show. That prequel is going to have pretty much all the voice cast and a bunch of other people come back over that are going to be talking about, like, they're going to be showcasing what led into the movie. And I find that to be like not necessarily like a detriment to the storytelling, because I think it leaves a lot open for like interpretation, or leaves a lot open for discussion. And then the intrigue. But it's also like, it's like we get this 5-minute opening sequence where we get to kind of see these characters in action a little bit, and we don't know much about them, but it also doesn't really matter. I think because we're really focused on Bautista.
It gives us just enough, and it tells us that there's a history here. There's some things that happened that went down. It literally, by the time the woman dies with her daughter there right at the beginning, like I felt like I kind of felt a connection to her already, because because you saw her go from kind of just being like a mom. So all of a sudden, you know, she's like, you know, checking people out, and she sees the one guy with the bite on his arm. She's like, you know, and just like, you know, shoots both of them in the car. And like, you could see like her progression just even in that couple of minutes, man. You saw this woman's progression from being a mom to like full on, you know, warrior kind of, you know, person. And so and then, you know, obviously passing, you know, at the end. But my gosh, it felt like you had already seen a movie before you even started really in the movie. And I'll be honest with you too, what I think was really cool was this film did a great job of launching this universe. Like you said, this is not the complete story. This is one part of this story. And so for launching this thing, I really felt that this was a great connective tissue between what comes before, and hopefully then what we see will, eventually.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they're going to be able to do with it after. Well, I mean, Mexico City is obviously going to be where I think it picks up, and that's going to be its own thing. What I found to be interesting too was like, again, like the zombies, the Zeus being the alpha and like leading them, like him being able to choose his lieutenants, which ones are infected, but they're not necessarily dead, right? Because as we saw, you had the queen, and the queen, I like that she was a showgirl. I thought that was pretty funny. And but the queen is pregnant at we find out, and it's like, okay, but you're right. He had the buzz cut, and then a couple years later, he's got the long hair, and he figures out to like put the Kevlar over his head, the helmet, to protect from headshots. So he's smart enough to know what's what. Yep. And so like, and then clearly the other people know that as well. Like Valentine the tiger kind of knew that like as well, because it wasn't just like a predator rolling around. It was literally patrolling on behalf of Zeus.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. I loved the tiger. I just thought that was like such an interesting.
You know what's fun too? Even though this is like an epic popcorn flick, I still don't think a theater would release it as is. They'd make small adjustments. Like, can you imagine a movie theater or a movie company releasing this and not letting Dave Bautista's character die at the end? They'd be like, no, we got to have him for the sequel or something like that.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, they would have gone into it saying, like, look, we, at the time, Warner Brothers passed on it.
Yeah.
And it would have just probably been a standalone thing. And the original story of it wasn't even going to be this. It was going to be about the main guy, Scott, probably trying to get his daughter out. Think of like Escape from New York, but instead of the president's daughter, it's Pliskin's daughter, and he's got to go get her out. And that is kind of what we saw, a little bit of that too, right there at the end of the end credits, where they were helping like a general or whatever, like out of the city. He was one of the last ones out, and he had the briefcase to his arm. That was totally a nod to Escape from New York. That was totally a nod to that. There's been a lot of nods to different franchises I noticed in this. I will say, did you guys catch the Larry Fong reference? As they were going into the casino, you see the magician. Right, they had that poster for the magician. That was Larry Fong, the director of photography for 300 and Watchmen and Sucker Punch.
Really?
And it's like long-term friend of Zack, did BVS as well. And so like they put a little Larry Fong Easter egg that I noticed when I saw it, and I was laughing. I was like the only one laughing in the theater because I'm the only idiot that got it. But like, what I don't get, speaking of the zombies, so when there's that final, like there's that big action sequence in the casino floor.
Yeah.
And that one zombie who was one of the first zombies that was turned, right? One of the soldiers that was turned in the very beginning. That dude gets shot in the head.
Yeah.
And I can't tell if he had like a metal endoskeleton.
Yeah.
Because, like,
clink.
You hear the clinks, and then you see the sparks, right? And then also,
I thought I saw somewhere. Yeah.
There were two different ones that happened to.
Yeah, and then but you also had like they all had blue eyes.
Yep.
Like later on, I mean, I know this. I feel like that's like a Dead Rising reference at some point in time, because Dead Rising has that with the zombies at nighttime. They get red eyes and that. But this was like, okay, so then like when he pulls the fetus out of the queen and everything.
Blue, yeah.
And I gotta say too, I love it when Dillahunt took the head off the queen using a garrote, because the fact that she was still moving her head around is totally a Return of the Living Dead Part 2 reference. When they jam the screwdriver into that one lady's head and pull her out of the coffin. Like I love that little reference right there. Also, what the hell? Like they were trying to get in to steal the DNA in order to make their own, and like that was because you kind of figured that was what was going on. Like if he already was insured for the money.
Dumb. Why is it that like people in these movies, like, these millionaire, billionaire, just horrible people, have to do stuff like that, right? I mean, it's like we can use this technology to this zombieism to make super soldiers. Like, what the heck?
I mean, there's a lot more money in the defense contracting industry than there is in casinos. There's a lot more money and a lot more power. And even in like Jurassic World, the new franchise with that, like the militarization of the dinosaurs was one of the key factors that InGen was up to. So it's like the militarization. I mean, that was clearly kind of a, like if zombies were to really happen, our military, some, would figure out some way to weaponize them and then use them against an enemy. There's even like in the Zombie Survival Guide book by Max Brooks, they even talk about like, a scenario in which during World War II, Americans actually sent zombies via parachute into Japan as a way to kind of silently take them out, which was also kind of a play on the old bat bomb design, which is a real weapon where they were going to drop bats into a Japanese village, but the bats are all going to have little napalm capsules. And so when they would fly out and they would fly away, leaving the bomb, it would activate a timer. And then when the timer went off, they would just spread napalm everywhere. So it's like, but the thing is that kind of militarization and weaponization of this kind of crazy stuff is we've seen it literally in history played out. So I thought that was really great in Zack trying to tie into that stuff and make it part of it to an extent. I also thought it was really funny when they were going to move up the day of blowing up Vegas. Like they thought, oh, we'll do it July 4th because the president says that it's cool. Right. And they go, because president says it's cool, and I've seen people equate that, like they're trying to attack it politically saying, oh, that's like Trump derangement syndrome or something. And I'm like, have you ever asked Zack Snyder why he's done anything in his movies? The answer is always the same, because it's cool. Exactly. That was a Zack Snyderism right there. Like that was literally, and he said that to me once at Comic-Con when I asked about a 300 technique when they did the battle cam sequence and stuff. And I asked about that. He's like, hey, it was cool. I'm like, that is a Snyderism.
Can we not overlook the fact though that there was something weird though? I mean, you said something about it, but what the heck is up with the robotic face?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. That's the thing that caught my.
I wasn't sure if I saw that or not.
Well, and I wasn't either. I wasn't either. And I was like I turned to Tiffany and I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like that clanked and like that was like a robotic face under there, right? I'm not seeing. And she's like, no, I saw that too. And I looked down at Isaac and he's like, yeah, I saw that too. And then like a little while later, somebody else is getting their head blown off and there's another one. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, what? And I didn't even want to say anything about it. Like, cause I was really thinking about it and I was just like, well, maybe it's just, as everything was going by really, really fast and stuff like that. And then I that night I came home and I was watching Dave Pena and when they started talking about it, I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. I saw that and that's a real thing. And what does that mean?
Well, I mean, never mind the fact that they take the fetus out of the queen and they hold up the fetus and it's like definitely weeks into the development of the fetus, right? It's like at that point the size of a lemon, I think, but it was blue. It was blue and it was glowing blue and then it faded. So there was that. And so I'm like, okay, like there's definitely more to that. And I think that's going to be what keeps people like talking about it is it's not even that it's like, cause look, the concept of the film is very, it's Dawn of the Dead, it's Ocean's 11, it's other kind of genres mixed into it, but I thought that it worked out really well. And I'll tell you this, though, the character who I think got screwed the most in the movie is Gita, right? Because like she sneaks in to get money to get her kids out.
Yeah.
I don't even know if her kids survived that blast at the end. We have no idea if those kids survived that low yield nuclear blast. And then she gets on the helicopter and the helicopter crashes and then she's just dead, And then it's like.
I don't even know. I was wondering, did she die? I was like,
they basically they either like they cut around showing her body because obviously the emotional impact of the scene was meant to be Bautista and his daughter. I get all that, but also a thing too. Did you guys ever get the idea that it wasn't his biological daughter, but it was his stepdaughter?
I think so. Yeah.
A little bit.
The very first interaction, I got that. But then at the end, she started calling him dad. I'm like, well, if it's a love letter to step parents, or maybe adopted or something like that, because Zack is an adopted father. So I'm thinking like there could be some connection to that, like with James Gunn and Yondu at the end of Guardians 2. He was like, no, it's kind of an ode to stepfathers or fathers everywhere, whether you're biological step or adopted, it doesn't matter. So I mean, that could be something a little nugget in there. Which I think would definitely be more of a 4 Autumn sort of thing.
So here's an interesting hypothesis because we were talking about like, well, where do they go from here, right? And then obviously there was the ending where he gets away on the airplane and you're like, oh wow, like he got away, good for him, right? So here's something to think about because I hadn't even thought about this until Tiffany mentioned this to me as something else was passed.
There's also Scorpion. I forget the actor's name.
Yeah,
well, the guy that set up everything.
So early on when they first walk into Vegas, right? And there's all of the the dried out bodies, right? The corpses. Like
the shamblers.
Yeah, the shamblers.
When it rains, they
walk, right? And so there's something there. Well, if you notice, right after the bomb drops and everything, there's a thunderstorm in the back. And Tiffany looks at me and goes, "What are they going to do? Are they all going to come back to life?" Like,
it was a low yield. It was a low yield nuclear bomb, so it was designed to just decimate and destroy more biological life, in my opinion. And so, here comes the thunderstorm, and and then if it blew away all of the crates keeping the city contained, you're not going to be able to plug all those holes.
Right.
Now, are we going to get a shambler army? Well, what is near Vegas? You've got, you've got Carson, Nevada. You've got Reno. You've got You've got San Diego. Phoenix, LA. All within. Not a horde would not take that long to get there. A couple of days, right? And these are the ones that you couldn't really just destroy with headshots.
Yeah,
it would take a lot of firepower to take these things down.
And what if there's some more of those robot ones, or whatever those things are, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they hold a key to it, where maybe they have something about them that keeps the infection going, or keeps that whole thing going. And so when Tiffany mentioned that, I was like, oh my God, we just went on this huge emotional roller coaster, and now you're making me aware of thunderstorms in the background, like with this, and honestly, so the one guy, here's something I was thinking about too, was we never see the end of the German guy who's going to be in the prequel.
Oh, Dieter, yeah.
So we never see his end. We don't know how his story ends. We know that he pushed what's his name into the vault, and and just kind of gets, Zeus grabs him by the face and he gets pulled back, but we never see how if he dies, if he was being held, if there was something something else. And wouldn't it be interesting? I mean, he's in he's in this one, right, and plays a key role, but he's in that prequel. What if he is the glue that holds this kind of story together for maybe the prequel, this one, and then whatever comes next.
But what also about Lily, the coyote?
Yeah.
Now, because she gets impaled by Zeus with the rebar, which is insane.
I liked her character.
But I love that she pulled out she had the head and she dropped it. That was great. But we also didn't see her die. And it's possible. I was thinking about this too. If they do a sequel,
you kind of want to see him put the head back on to see if it would work.
Oh, there's no. I mean, it's like Jello at that point. We're scooping it up. Well, I thought what he was going to do when they killed the queen was that they was going to take the daughter, and then that was going to be his goal was to turn her into another suitable host.
Yep.
Which would have been interesting. But obviously there was this. I mean, it's a 2.5 hour long movie, and it's still there's a lot there at the end. You're like, okay. Now I do want to say that I felt one of the best scenes in the movie was Samantha Wynn's character when they're trying to make their way through the hibernating zombies, and Martin tries to screw with her because she's onto him, and she's gonna call him out, and then you think she's dead 5 times in that scene, and then at the very end she just dives through the window and she just starts taking him out. I thought that was really good.
Can I just say how jealous I am of my wife who gets to interview her?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm jealous too now. I'm jealous of your wife myself.
Yes. No,
she was really good, and that was and again, she doesn't do a lot of acting. She does more stunt work. And so I think I think
she's gonna get more after this.
I think she did very good on that one. Yeah, and I liked Guzman of the Dead, right? He was really great. Raúl Castillo, Goose was an awesome character. I liked Dieter quite a bit. I liked him and Vanderhoof. I thought they had great chemistry, kind of like a late 80s, early 90s buddy cop vibe going on, And then I really liked the scene when they were trying to trigger all of the non-lethal traps, because the first zombie they pulled in. Did it remind you guys of Bud from Day of the Dead? It really reminded me of Bud.
I don't think I've seen Day of the Dead. So
you've never seen? Oh man, Day of the Dead is great. We're talking the 81 Romero flick, right? Mm-hmm. Or 81. But no, Bud is he's kind of the sentient zombie in that one. It's iconic, And the first guy they pull out looked a lot like him, but I like how they just kept going back up, getting another one, bringing him back down, and there was a layer of humor in the movie in that middle act of it that I felt really kind of it goes from really dark to kind of really funny in this great mixture. And then you really get to like the characters. And that's, I think, the good thing about Zack having the ability to kind of have the 2.5 hour long version of it. Yeah, you could probably cut a couple things here and there and trim it up a little bit. But I like the character moments, and I feel like they work really well for establishing why we should care about these guys' specific journey, and then, of course, their ultimate ends. And that kind of sucks more because at the end, only the daughter lived that we know of, and Vanderho. And then it's like, okay, well, we're not going to be able to go back with another group of this team, really. Yeah. So that part kind of sucks because you get to like him and you want to see more of him. Which is why I get what Max was saying about why would a studio let this happen, but at the same time, it's like, studios are never going to.
A studio, once they see that, you would say, well, that's a different. Rogue One, they let them.
I mean, everybody died.
And then
Cassie
Hayes getting a prequel series.
Right.
You could easily see a studio saying, "Oh, we like really Dave Bautista's character here. We don't want."
Yeah, we're gonna retcon.
It's easy like adjustment. He lives,
Sure.
Well, it's not even that. You don't even do that. You just do prequels at that point in time. You just you do the Lost Vengeance movie. The Lost Vengeance movie is a prequel leading up. What happened after he had to kill his wife, and then the whole extraction team and everything else. You bring everybody back. You can do it that way. What I want to see is how Dieter made it from the UK all the way over to Vegas, but his movie is more of like a rom-com. That's how they described it, is that Army of Thieves is more of a rom-com with only a couple zombies. So I don't quite know what that means.
So it does have zombies in it?
Zack said a couple of zombies is what he said in an interview. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously, look, more Dieter is great because I thought Dieter was fantastic.
Yeah,
and I really.
I don't know. I mean, I'm intrigued to see the universe expanded, but that doesn't excite me as much, though. Now that I know it.
I think it's going to come out by the end of the year. I think we're going to get it by like the end of the year. It's already been done, and Netflix is promising a new movie every single week, so they're gonna probably crank it out. And I think looking at like the response to this movie this weekend, now that a lot more people can see it. And what I love is a lot of people that I follow on Twitter that are big Zack fans, the ones that didn't get the chance to go see it early, have been watching it today, and their reactions are like, holy crap, this movie's amazing. I freaking love it. Can't wait to watch it again. And I think Netflix sees that because they've been very active on social media in responding and retweeting people, which goes to show you that the brand is trusting in Zack, and they're actually utilizing him, unlike another unnamed studio that's had some issues as of late.
Zack Snyder, he shows it, like he shows all the action. Like I was like, yep, he's gonna. They showed that tiger ripping his face off.
I love that. I love it.
That was such
I was like, wow.
So you said Bud, and it's kind of interesting because my former bass player in my band, he started the band, and he's a huge zombie fan. And I hadn't seen Bud. His name is Bud, and I hadn't seen him in a while since he stepped down. And so he's a huge zombie guy, loves all these zombie movies. And as soon as he heard that, like, I was stoked to actually see this film and stuff, and that he didn't even know that our theater was open. He thought he was just coming over here to watch the movie. And we got here and we started talking. I'm like, hey, we got to go. And he's like, why? And I'm like, well, because we got to get to the theater. I mean, it's only 2 minutes away, but we still got to get there. And he's like, wait, it's at the theater? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like super excited and everything. And so we go, and I was so glad that I got to watch it with him because he's such a huge zombie fan. And when in that moment where the tiger, eats the guy's face and he just rips it off and stuff, Bud must have said like 5 or 6 times after that, he's like, Enosh, if you get a chance to talk to Zack and you get to say anything to him, please tell him for me that was the most amazing thing that I've seen in a zombie movie. He's like, it was the best thing ever. He's like, it was just so fun and stuff to just see that guy's face just get eaten off. He's like, it was so satisfying, and everything. It was just like,
it was a great scene. I loved it because I like that actor too, and he always plays he can play a scummy guy really well.
For
but
sure.
I like that, like his face is torn up and he's squirting blood out of everywhere, and then Valentine's and it just splashes because if you're again like I kind of feel like that's a reference back to Zombie 2, which is an old, I think, 72 zombie film out of Italy. Have you ever seen that one? Oh, you're not a zombie fan, so I wouldn't expect you to have seen that.
Not a big zombie. That's why I loved having Bud with me because
he could kind of explain those things.
Connoisseur. Like he was actually telling me the same thing. He was like giving me all these like references to all these different.
Did he mention zombie versus shark? Because in Zombie 2, there is a scene like literally where you've got an actor in zombie makeup in the water and he's fighting a shark.
Well, this is what it's something I don't.
It's kind of like that.
I want to see that.
YouTube it.
This is something that I don't understand that people don't get about Zack Snyder. I'm like, why is this guy so cool? He shows you. Like other people do creative camera angles and stuff to not actually do like show you some. That's hard to pull off. That scene is, with the effects and everything. He shows everything.
That's kind of my only complaint with the movie, though. Actually, was all of the close-ups. Like I know he had the Canon Dream lens, and he was first time shooting digital and whatnot. He really wanted you in the action. It's a little unsettling at times because it feels too close. And then also the soft focus and the depth of field is great, but I feel like he overdid it. Like there's times where like there's like so much rack focusing going on. I'm like, okay, speed it along. That's my only real complaint with the movie from a technical perspective. But otherwise, like when in the opening credits, when like we see Alice, I think her name is, on the with the machine gun, and there's a zombie on the car, and she just eviscerates the zombie. That's like blows it to pieces and whatnot. It was fantastic. There's a lot of great violence in the movie, which is what I think people out there really wanted to see. And it's a mixture of practical and it's a mixture of special effects. And especially the casino floor scene was just like, I got to go back and watch it again because there's a lot of like you see bullet impacts and it's just like the individual destruction of the machines. It's like how much of that is real versus fake. I'm looking forward to an actual audio commentary, but did you see that Netflix actually has a making of featurette to go along with this movie? Yeah.
I didn't see
that. So that's on there on Netflix as well. You guys can go and check that out. I need to watch that today. I feel like when it comes to like Netflix and Zack in this movie, they've treated it with like, very gentle hands. And they're working with him. They allowed him to do what he wants to do. And apparently a lot of people really like it because the movie did open in I think it was 400 theaters last week, and it did $797,000, which is not a lot, but considering where we are and considering everything else, that's not bad. And this week it's up against Spiral. There's really nothing else that's come out. I mean, looking at my local cinema, like they're showing Scoob from last year.
Now, is it staying in theaters though? Because
this weekend it's in theaters. This weekend is I believe they extended. I think.
Gotcha. I think they extended. Only 1 week. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, no, but they've extended it this weekend, and I think a lot of people are gonna be talking about it enough to go see it in theaters. I think it's worthwhile.
Is this the first one that's not gonna get a physical release from Zack?
No, I mean Netflix does do physical releases. Like I have both the first 2 seasons physical of Stranger Things, and I think The Irishman's on home video. Netflix is not dumb. Netflix is moving into the distribution market as well. Like they're getting into becoming their own major studio, and stuff like this where they put it in theaters at the right time and it draws people out because there's a lot of zombie aficionados out there. And then it also can take them to Netflix afterward to go and watch it again. And that's going to be interesting to see how many people go see it this weekend, and then also how the numbers are on Netflix. So I think it's pretty good. Now, we've been going here about probably a little over 40 minutes. I want to start winding it down just more or less. Is there anything else that really kind of stood out to you? Anything that really kind of caught your eye that we didn't talk about here?
I just, okay, so I'll just say this, and this is more kind of on a personal level more than anything else, but I'm originally from Vegas. And one of the things that I thought was really cool was, so last summer I took my family out to Vegas for their first time out there. My wife had never been to Vegas, and my boys had not been to Vegas. So I took them out there, showed them where I grew up and all this stuff. And so the funny thing is that we had parked at the Excalibur at one point, right there at Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard, right where all the action takes place. And we had walked, back up the strip a little ways and stuff. And I showed them the whole thing. And so then afterwards we went to the Vegas sign. It's the first time I'd ever gone to the Vegas sign. Cause when you're out there, like you don't do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I did a full tourist thing. Right. So it was really cool because this movie, I thought it was great given the fact that this was a Zack Snyder movie and how close we've been, like watching Zack Snyder's Justice League. We've been involved in all that stuff. Isaac, turns to me and Tiffany turns to me halfway through the movie and they're just like, this is so cool. Like we were right there. Like it meant something more to them because they had been experienced. So I think that's cool too, that it's a real world setting where it's like people who have been there, so many people go to Vegas, and have been to Vegas. And so they're familiar with that. And so to like, know, okay, well, this is where it is. This was, and the attention to detail too. Like I thought it was cool that the quarantine area just outside there was the McCarran
Airport?
Airport. What was the McCarran? What they call it? The established the little base there, just outside the walls.
I'm not too familiar.
No. In the movie, but the like the tent city.
Okay.
The tent city. I can't remember, but it was called the McCarran, whatever that was.
Yeah. I think it was McCarran quarantine zone. Is what
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the McCarran quarantine zone, right? So you weren't responding, so I was thinking maybe I got that wrong for a second.
Oh, I was trying to think about what you were talking. Yeah, okay, sure. I get it.
So what's cool though is that yes, right there where that is, that's where the airport is, and that's McCarran Airport, right? And so it was cool to see those little details that like. You know, I mean, I like that stuff, especially
that's really close to the city too. The airport is really close to the city.
It's right there at the end of the strip.
Yeah.
So literally, if you're at the Vegas sign, right, and you're looking across the street, you're looking at one of the runways for McCarran Airport. It's right there. Okay. So that was like dead on, you know, and I love that because I have these pet peeves, like, and we all know movie magic is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's all over the place. Like if you watch Con Air, for example, okay, great movie. I love it. It's fun. It is what it is. But like Tiffany knows, I get really bent out of shape every time I watch that movie because at the end where the airplane is flying over Vegas and, you know, it's hitting stuff and it hits the Hard Rock Cafe sign and all that stuff. So at one point it shows it's flying over one part of the strip, like dangerously low. And then all of a sudden it hits the Hard Rock. Well, the Hard Rock is literally on the other side. It shows it like flying over Circus and it's like right there. And then all of a sudden, like, a second, two later, it's hitting, you know, that other hotel. Well, that's like on polar opposites of the strip.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, Tiffany loves that movie. And when we first got together, we were watching that and I was trying to explain it to her. And she was like, why are you so hung up on this? Well, when I took the family out there this last summer, I showed them the difference. And she's like, oh my God, that's a big deal. I mean, you're talking, you know, a mile or two. And so I like it when I see an attention to detail like that even though it's movie magic and stuff like that, it doesn't. Yeah. It takes it seriously enough, right?
Well, it's like the ending of Fast and Furious 6 when they're going on the plane, the speed of the plane and like the time of the movie, how long it takes. They estimate that they went about 124 miles.
Yeah, you know? Right.
Like,
yeah.
And this is like that. Yeah, that wasn't real. But it's funny you say that too, because there's a movie called Act of Valor that came out in early 2012. It was like a Navy SEAL movie, kind of like in the vein of like a Call of Duty story. But it was shot locally in San Diego. And at one point in the movie, the main character is walking on the north shore of the island. And I look over and I see these dunes. And I was like, I used to get drunk there. Like when I was younger, when I used to hang out in Coronado. I'm like, I used to get drunk like right there. You know, like I'm pretty sure that dune.
Right. Well, and it's like I live in Flint and we don't get this a lot here in Flint. But when the Will Ferrell, Woody Harrelson movie about the Flint Tropics, Semi-Pro.
Yeah.
They shot a good portion of that because they're the Flint Tropics, right? Now, a lot of it wasn't shot here, but they did come here. And so like that Top Hat car wash that's in there that you see is literally right around the corner from where I used to work. Like it's just right there. And so then they shot some stuff downtown, like in an alley that's right behind where my wife works, right? And so it is cool to see those things and like be able to have those. And they
didn't even shoot this movie in Vegas. They shot it in Albuquerque.
Yeah.
And Los Angeles, but the set designers spent a lot of time really kind of making it work.
That's what I'm saying. So that's just cool. And then another thing that I noticed too was I liked the kind of the callback to Wonder Woman, where Zeus is standing on top of
the Statue of Liberty. Yeah,
that was cool. And then I think if I have one pet peeve of the movie, it's just the fact that Zeus can be on top of the Statue of Liberty at the New York, and somehow they can't get over a couple of containers.
See, here's the thing with that. I don't think he wanted to.
Yeah,
that was their territory. That was their territory. They took that as like
gotta be it.
If we're looking at it like, let's say from like an indigenous person's perspective, it's kind of like a reservation.
Yeah.
All right. Like they're given this piece of land. They can leave. You know what? But they know what's not waiting for them on the outside. You know, they know what's out there. They're not going to mess with them inside here. This is their place. and that's kind of like an unwritten rule. And that's kind of how I took it, because it felt very, like you see those in old Westerns when like, oh, we got to cut through this territory, and they look up and they see the guy and the guy's watching them. It's very, and then they go, we have to like barter in order to like get passage, so like the coyote, and she's French, which I think also ties in, because there was a lot of French trappers that came over here to the States during that time, and so it's like there's a lot of little things here and there that like I just feel are kind of add, maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe that I'm not interpreting it correctly, but that's how I take it. And so it's like you look at it from those perspectives, and it gets kind of fascinating. Max, what about you? Anything final you just want? So I know we've been going for like almost an hour. I know you got to get going. Yeah.
I like all the characters. Don't get too attached. I mean, that's the only to nothing really. He goes for it every time with the action. You're not. This isn't the type of movie where you're gonna like, you're gonna make it out okay at the end. Very few. I still want to see more. I mean, I guess that's good for the sequel. I want to see more with the actual zombies and what they're planning, and
I think that's going to be what we get more of in the prequel stuff.
That's my only downside. But other than that, I was intrigued. Yeah, it was great. A lot of fun. And my wife winced a few times, but with the kills. So he goes for it. Also to he's gonna up the ante with the zombie kills and stuff next time too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm pretty sure. Like this was a very intimate piece for Zack to make. It was low. It was like a smaller scale, all things considered. How they shot it, how they made it work, and they focused on the acting and they focused on the characters while giving us some really nice set pieces and some very, very good visuals. The story there is very interesting. It is ripe for discussion. A lot of people are going to dive in. I'm expecting people to do ending explained videos, and they got nothing they can explain.
Well, I do have a question, though. Do you think he'll dive deep into a sequel if he likes the Netflix relationship, or her way to WoW, or what?
I wouldn't be
off to someone else.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's not an announcement pretty quick for another one, because like when Bright came out, that did pretty well. They announced a Bright 2. I mean, granted that hasn't happened yet, but with the prequel on its way and Jay Oliva working on
he did say projects. I have projects to do. He said.
Yeah, well, he's got things, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to get roped back into doing like another franchise, because he just came off of 10 years of doing one, really. But maybe this is a little bit different.
The Deadverse.
They give him the check, and he goes off and he makes it, and they get the hell out of his way. At that point, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and does more, or if he does an entirely different originally, because I know he's working on that King Arthur movie set during the Gold Rush.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure something like Netflix is going to come along and offer him up like a modest budget to do something along those lines. If Zack can keep the budgets low, and if he can keep things tight and he can keep them consistent, I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix signs him to a deal or just starts greenlighting his projects because they know that they can create a good working relationship with him, which is what they've been developing with a lot of other creators. There's a reason why more and more people are going to Netflix right now than any place else, because Netflix is like, we have the audience, we've got the money, we've got the infrastructure, and now we're branching out into theaters. So you can get those movies out there, and we're also going for awards. We're going for Oscars. We're bringing in all sorts of talent, and we have almost 200 million people on our service. It's just like, you can't, if you were a filmmaker right now, you couldn't ask for a better place to do your business, really. And I think that this movie is very cathartic for Zack to make. I think he had a lot of fun making it, and I think the fact that the zombie lovers who 17 years ago fell in love with Dawn of the Dead are going to rush to this movie. Romero fans are going to rush to this movie. I mean, Walking Dead fans are going to rush to this movie. We haven't had a good zombie movie in a while, and this mixed a bunch of different genres in a way that worked.
What do you like better, this or Dawn of the Dead remake? That's a tough one. I have to rewatch
I love Army of the Dead, man, but I love Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
It's been
a lot of years. You just watched it recently, right, Enosh?
Yeah. I just watched it.
Yeah. I gotta rewatch it. I haven't watched it in a long time.
It's
I look at him as different though, because because that other one I see kind of as a pure zombie movie.
Yeah.
I did notice like a theme though. I mean, obviously Zack Snyder has a thing for baby zombies. But yeah, no, I look at the other one kind of more of like a regular zombie tale kind of thing, where this one just seemed more like there's something more going on here. There's something crazy.
But you have to pick one, Enosh. You have to pick one. It's not easy.
Well, I think if I have to pick one
right now,
I'd probably pick Army, just because there's so many things there. As good as that other movie is, and I really like it, and actually there's some nostalgia there. I mean, like, you know, looking at like the people who are in that film and stuff, and I love the way that the film looks because of the time period it was done in and stuff, you know. But Army of the Dead here, it just I think some of it is nostalgia for me on a different level, because, like I said, it's where I grew up to some extent. I've got some connection that way. And can we also talk about, like, I wonder, like, so is it a couple of years that the passage of time is?
It's like 3-4 years is what I got out of it.
Yeah.
It's a couple years.
Because man, everything was covered with so much dirt.
Well, I mean, it's Vegas. It is the desert. I mean, like, I lived in LA, like, and you'd be amazed at what got covered in dirt in Los Angeles.
I mean, just the desert really reclaimed so much. I mean, inside the hotels, even, you know. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I mean, it's been a couple years in the desert. You know, the winds are going to come on in. You get a good, you know, and there's no maintenance. And the thing is also, it's like when there's no traffic, really, it does start to pile up really quickly. I mean, have you ever just, like, you know, not swept your floor in like a couple days?
Oh, I know.
And then, like,
I know.
Well, that's
why I was asking, kind of like, I wonder, like, exactly how much time has passed, because it had that.
There's questions. There's questions that I hope get answered as we go into it further, as I'm sure Zach will give a lot of post interviews, and he'll probably talk about a couple things at Q&As and whatever. What I would hope is that we get more of an official thing, that we get more of Zach and, like, going, hey, look, we're going to do a sequel. It's going to explain a lot more stuff in this one. We're really building it out, kind of slowly building it out. Unlike Warner's, slowly building it out.
Did you have any issue with the fact that, and I'm sorry, because I've only seen it the one time, and so, like, I'm drawing a blank. The guy who survived at the end.
With the plane?
We know who was in the vault.
Vanderhoof, yeah, Vanderhoof.
Vanderhoof, yeah. Like, him getting out there at the end, I thought it was interesting, because, like, there'd be radiation.
Low yield. It was a low yield. It was a low yield.
I know it was low yield, but I'm not sure, like, how much.
We saw where you got the zombie.
Well, I mean, that's kind of, again, that's kind of like the thing. It was meant to be like more of a.
I honestly, before that happened, though, I thought he was just going to be in there, and he was going to be for the sequel, because he could survive as a zombie.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, how did he get out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, then
you know, like,
it's possible that the lack of power, or the power surge from the EMP blast could have just delatched it.
But I still say, man, Dieter, man, there's got to be something, because, like, he's the only one we do not see anything.
I'm gonna call it right now. Dieter is gonna have he's gonna have gotten away somehow, right? He knows that the helicopter was on the roof. He ran up to the roof to go and find everybody. There's Lily impaled. He grabs Lily really quick. He pulls her off the rebar. They get back inside and they run, and they go, oh, we got to get out because it's going to be blowing up. And they duck and cover in some room somewhere underground, and they're hanging out there for the sequel. That's my prediction. You know,
yeah, no, I like that prediction, because, like, that was like when we were talking, that was like one of the things we were talking about. Like, there's those two people you really don't see. I mean, yes, she was impaled, but, like, you don't really see.
Yeah.
What happened?
Like, they had a couple minutes. They had a couple minutes.
Now, but what if, because both of those people, okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper into that hole. Both of those people, those characters, the last we see them, they have direct contact with Zeus. What if somehow they survive, but it's not because they got away from everything, but it's literally because Zeus had a backup plan?
Well, it's kind of okay. So, like, Vanderhoof, for example, it took him a significant amount of time to change, right? And he was aware of the change, and it wasn't like his eyes turned blue at the end, if I recall, but, like, and he wasn't turning in, like, he was becoming the new alpha, right? And it's like, that could be something, You know, that could be something, because the way I kind of interpreted that when he fought Zeus, because like he actually fought Zeus, and Zeus like didn't just kill him. Just kill him. He played with them a little bit, but I think also there might have been a bit of a test there to see whether or not this guy would be a good lieutenant. You know, as another enforcer.
What if there's like a transference kind of thing? Is what I was thinking of, right? Because if this
that might be going a bit.
No, seriously. If it's like an alien thing, right? Because obviously, the Zeus to begin with was not whatever it was that became this alpha, right? So if it's like some kind of alien, technology or alien kind of thing, there could be some kind of transference that maybe happens or whatever.
I worked on a zombie web series back in 2009 called Universal Dead, and the concept of it was that the zombies were actually interdimensional beings. And what it was is that when they ate flesh or whatever, it went into their system, and then they transferred it portal, like their stomach was a portal to another dimension. They were just like, they were just feeding and sending food back. But then also there were vampires in it, and like the vampires were like the lieutenants. Look, dude, we got DB Sweeney and Doug Jones to be in this, and Gary Graham. Right, like, you know, you can find it. Universal Dead's on YouTube. I was like the key grip on it for like 3 days in San Diego in 2009. We shot this thing, and so it's like that's out there, and it's like I kind of got the similar kind of vibes out of this. I don't think Zach ripped anybody off, but it was because he said he got this idea in 2007, but they announced it in 2009 before we even shot Universal Dead. So I don't know. I don't know, but they're kind of similar on that front. And I mean, like at the end of the day, I really enjoyed the film. There's a lot there. I mean, we could always go scene by scene on this thing.
Oh, I know.
There's a lot to kind of dive into.
There is.
And I just wanted us to do like a half-hour discussion. We're already an hour into it, so
that's
it's
crazy,
like,
and it's gone by like that. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, like
there's a lot to discuss here. There's like the different character motivations and things like that. But I have to commend Zach for it. I knew it was going to be good. I liked it a lot. I really want to go watch it again. In theaters, actually. Like I would go watch it again in theaters because it was just a cool enough experience to see. Even though I've got a 55-inch 4K TV, I can sit in bed and watch it. That big theatrical experience is where Zach's movies deserve to be seen. So if you can, go see it there while you can, and then come back and watch it again on Netflix, because that's also just going to kind of stick the knife a little bit further into Warner. But you know what? I'm not dabbing in that combo, but it's just a little, right.
Well, I'm there.
A little bit of that.
I'm there.
He made this on 17 to 90 million. I was looking up the budget.
Yeah, he did it. He did it on a modest enough budget. And they put the money clearly in the visual effects, and they sold a believable world. And they didn't need it to be like massively post-apocalyptic. It wasn't the whole world over. It was one contained area, which I thought was really interesting.
Yep.
And they told a very contained story that at the end of it, you want more, and you also feel bad that the characters you like got killed.
So, and that's a nightmare movie too.
And if you're going to go into the BVS stuff or the Justice League stuff, the nightmare aesthetic kind of applies. But we're not talking about Warner Brothers.
I know.
Because we know I don't got 8 more hours.
No. I threw that in at the end.
Amazing. He said it, not me.
Yeah, I know.
I just threw it in there because I'm like, man, you could really see what he could do with.
And that's the thing is, he shot the nightmare stuff after he shot this.
Yeah.
So he learned by filming it, and then he brought that over, and it was really good. So with what he's learning now, and he's also talked about experimenting with the volume technology. If he is going to be doing another movie like this, they could do a lot with the volume tech and how that's going to be really altering filmmaking going forward. And the way that he's been able to like really kind of meld the digital filming with the CG and how it's really in many instances seamless as all hell. He's working with a lot of good creators. They got a good team going on, and I think that we're going to get something really good out of this. And I at this point, all I want out of Zach is to do projects he has passion in. That's all I want. And I think this was a big passion thing for him, and I want to see it continue. But if they come out and they say his next movie is going to be that King Arthur Gold Rush thing, by all means, I'm in. I want to see what they're going to do with it, and I'm very happy and thankful for Netflix for putting this one together.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so you guys, like thumbs up, thumbs down.
Snyderverse. No. Sorry. Thumbs up. Thumbs down.
God damn it, Max.
He can make that part 2, man, for less than that $200 million.
Okay, so where can people find you guys?
You can find me waiting in line for Justice League 2.
Wow.
It will be a while, but okay.
It might be, but I know. Go ahead, Max.
I'm on Movie Madison Entertainment, and I also got a PlayStation Plus podcast. And then here, you can find me at the $3 theater.
Yeah, and I stream a lot on here, so I'm here all the time.
Or the lounge.
Yeah, Poindexter Lounger.
We're the one stop, like everybody just comes and hangs out and argues and has fun, and
we argue a lot. Yeah, we do argue a lot.
But we're all friends at the end of the day. I look, you know what?
Can't we have it all? Restore the Snyderverse, Army of the Dead 2. The King Arthur movie, we can have it all.
You know he just turned like 55, right? Like, I mean, like let's let the man start.
But he looks like he's like 35. So
working out like that will do it to you. But you know what? Like he's not getting any younger. Let the guy do what he wants to do.
He's gonna be like Ridley. He's gonna
probably working until literally he's 112 years old. But anyway, guys, thank you very much. I'm gonna have both of the links for their channels in the video description. You guys can go check that out. And if there's any more movies you want to see us break down and discuss, let us know in the comment section. Of course, if you saw Army of the Dead and you liked Army of the Dead or didn't, we want to hear your opinions. Thank you guys very much. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again, and peace the hell. What the